Struggling to remain calm when emotions run high? Here are 5 co-regulation techniques that every parent should know. We're talking about simple co-regulation techniques that any parent can implement and actually create change quickly and effectively. And when you use them all the time, they start tamping down those big emotions, those reactions, and really creating a much stronger bond between you and your child. So let's talk about my 5 favorite. There are many ways to do it. And if one isn't listed, please let us know, drop it in the chat in whatever way that you are watching this or listening to this. So, number one, let's talk about co breathing. So, yeah, co breathing is a thing, right? So when we practice breathing with our child, first of all, you might start off and think, oh, this is awkward. This is strange. But when you are regularly using breath work and you are modeling it, but you're also doing it with your child, it just becomes a rhythm. It becomes really easy to do, whether, like I always say, brushing your teeth or you're doing anything at home, right? So, a routine you have in the morning for getting ready for school or doing your homework, right? Breath work can be that same. And even just saying, let's breathe through it, automatically your subconscious brain is going to jump into action and start helping your child to regulate, right? And so it is something that you're doing, you're modeling. My favorite breath is a 4-7-8. It can be a box breath if it's a little kid. It can be a bubbles breath. Whatever works, you can say, let's breathe through it. Now, when people are very heightened, unless they are regularly doing breath work, they can be very resistant to it, right? You heard the story in the previous episode that my dad had the surgery and he was like, what are you talking about breathing through it? He actually stopped breathing, which was amplifying his pain, right? So when we shut down our breathing and we start breathing out of our chest instead of our belly, we actually experience greater levels of stress. This is all research. Diaphragmatic breathing is what it's called. When you breathe properly, then diaphragmatic breathing, what happens is you're able to pull your nervous system from that activated sympathetic dominant state down to a parasympathetic state. So when we do co-breathing, it's going to help your child focus on their body and not on their stress. So whether it's a runaway thought, a big emotion that's upsetting, or actually a physical uncomfortableness. I find that children of all ages, I think we can relate to this, is that we physically feel uncomfortable when stress happens. So it's allowing us to focus on that and breathe through it. It's really helpful. When you're doing co-breathing, it's a great way to connect with your kid as well as build trust, right? So you say to yourself, what do you mean build trust, Roseann? Well, when kids are frequently dysregulated, they can become angry, distrustful, resentful. They have to put their anger and irritation on somebody because they're just not understanding why this is happening. It's very frustrating for them, as it is for you. And again, it's part of that reactivity cycle that doesn't help, right? But co-breathing, my favorite technique, and nothing calms your nervous system faster than belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. Nothing. So everybody can do it. You got to make it part of your routine. Okay. My second co-regulation technique is mirror calming, right? So you're going to find a way to match your child's behavior. They're going to match your behavior of being calm, right? So first you want to observe the way that they're moving, right? You want to be careful where your body is. It's really fascinating. When I had my first job in mental health, it was a psychiatric facility, and they actually had kids as young as 5 years old. It just really changed who I am in a good way, because I was like, wow, we need to do better. And so they had kids 5 to 18 there, and they lived there. And these were obviously a lot of kids with trauma. And so what happened is you have to restrain kids, right? And so for whatever reason, I always think it was Jesus, I somehow kept missing the training. So I was working there for almost 9 months with no training on how to do restraints. with kids. And everybody else around me was just like restraining these kids. Like they would get upset or like punch, get aggressive, and they just restrain him. So I had 9 months where I couldn't legally do it, thank God, because I learned how to talk every single kid. I'm talking gang bangers too, down, right? And the only time kids were restrained about me around me was when somebody else just came in and was irritated that I was taking that long. And I finally, me, tiny little me with these big, huge 6'5" guys, I would be like, don't you ever do that again. Cause I'm daughter of Philomena. We just say it the way it is. And they backed off and they didn't restrain anymore around me after they really got to see that I could talk somebody down. And I did it by mirroring language. So, their body language. So when they would, I always was on an angle. You don't get in people's face, right? So we have to match, but we have to be as calm as possible, right? We want to shift to that in a calm place as much as we possibly can. And so think about your face. Think about, is your hand up? And again, turn your body to an angle. Don't confront and get right in your kid's face. That's not going to help, right? And we want to shift to engagement language, right? Oh, I see that it's hard for you and you're getting it through it. Whatever you can say to be positive. My dad, Tony's like, I very much like that you're having all these encouraging words for me, he says to me, but I'm in a lot of pain. And I was like, Dad, you control your mind. He always says, well, Jesus is in control of everything. And I was like, I agree, but we still have our mind, and he gave you that, right? So but it's so funny because he's like, you're just very encouraging, Roseann. And it was like, where have you been the other 50 years of my life? But it's a different role. But encouragement in the right way, an authentic way, can be really powerful, right? I hate encouragement from, well, I like it from strangers, but like if it's not authentic, it's not authentic, right? And by mirroring calm, we cut down on that encouragement and all the things you're doing. You're building connection. You're cutting down on power struggles, which happens a lot. And you're making kids feel seen and heard and accepted. So that's awesome. Okay. Number 3 strategy for co-regulation is physical contact. I'm Italian. We give everybody a double kiss, right? A hug, a little pressure on the arm, if they're, sitting down on their leg, whatever works for you guys in your family, I think is really helpful. Sometimes, when Max would get really dysregulated, I was like, hold on. I literally would say that because I don't try not to yell too much, except when I go, it's dinner, right? Now we use our karaoke machine. If you see me on social, call the kids down. And what I'll do, and I said, hold on. And then Max would start on, and I'd be like, I'm just going to give you a hug. We can't do this, and he's gotten so acclimated to it and he really likes it, right? Sometimes it's holding hands, but physical contact is not rewarding people. It is love. And nobody wants to be dysregulated. So I'm telling you, Dr. Rowe is telling you, giving you permission, give contact when somebody's dysregulated. If your child wants it and allows it, do it. Okay. Number 4 strategy for co-regulation is rhythm. Sometimes walking, sometimes rocking, swaying, humming, singing. You can have music or not. But when we put the body in some other rhythm, we break the dysregulation cycle. And it could be really helpful, right? When my kids were little, it was certainly very easy to put them in a rhythm, right? So even now, when I have a totally, emotionally regulated 14-year-old, when he's normal, 14-year-olds get annoyed at their mother in particular. We just turn on music, right? And we kind of just sway around and move. He's very used to disco driving. So that's a really easy way for us to connect. It's a break in the dysregulation. And really, truly, particularly, and we know, a lot of kids who have autism, stim, it's to self-regulate. Stimming can be really amazing. And I hate for kids to be, for that to be stopped or, said, don't do that, it's great. It's a great way to self-regulate, right? Obviously we want to mix the different behaviors but it can be really helpful. Okay. My number 5 way to co-regulate is actually verbal co-regulation. And that is all of those ways that we cue our kids to regulate. It could be let's breathe together, right? It could be an affirmation or reassurance, cueing them to a coping skill. Wow, that you did such a great job on that yesterday. I can see that was hard on you. What else can we do today to better support that? That's really powerful for kids. And when we have those positive interchanges, it opens up dialogue about ways that they feel dysregulated, which can be surprising sometimes for parents. I think a lot of times when people work with us one-on-one, I always tell them when they're really super dysregulated, highly anxious or obsessive compulsive, or even have autism, when their nervous system is so activated, you're going to be surprised as they come down the things they say about their emotions. And so you'll move from this shut off, withdrawn, really anxious place, right? We're not talking about it, where you actually get to have some insight. And sometimes it's emotional for the parents in a way that makes them happy and sad, because they're starting to realize, wow, they were really taking in a lot and they were processing a lot and they couldn't put words to it. And that's what the behavior was about. And now they're able to really talk about it. So, it's an incredible way to connect with your kid, to verbally have these emotional conversations and cue them and support them. So co-regulation is honestly the most powerful thing you got in your pocket. You don't need a magic wand when you learn to co-regulate. And I hope this little mini series about co-regulation, the strategies, that you can do really inspired you to take action. And remember, you got to do it at least 10 minutes a day, and you got to do it every day. You don't have to be perfect. Please let go of perfectionism. You have to be perfectly imperfect and look for about 80% success. We need the consistency for your child to learn another way, and also for your darn nervous system to not feel so overwhelmed. Now, I have lots of solutions and ways that we help people, from things that you can just access, resources that are free, to our one-to-one program, our Calm PMF, our Neurotastic. We have lots of things. And whatever solution that is best for you, it starts with taking our solution matcher. And you go to drroseann.com/help, and it will guide you to the right solution. But most importantly, you're going to be on our list. You're going to get resources. You're going to know when lives are occurring. You're going to know what episodes I'm doing. And I'm going to be there guiding you and supporting you along the way. And, you do need a tribe. None of us can do this on our own. I have my tribe, and I hope you are able to join my tribe too by filling out this solution matcher. So just go to drroseann.com/help.